Sports, a place where many athletes find success.
This is likely the final play that matters. End zone wide open. What a night for Mike Williams.
But where there's a winner, there has to be a loser.
He came a long way. You hear me? Come here, I love you, bro. Real.
It's one thing to watch the game, but another to analyze it. Let's talk about the numbers. You ready?
YouTube, what's going on, man? Back at it again with another video. It's your boy Numbers Fan Jay. Today is about the NFC North predictions, but before we get into that, got a little bit of news. So breaking news coming out of Washington this morning: the Washington NFL team will now be known as the Washington Football Team for the 2020 season, at least until they come up with a new name. Now, this is a step in the right direction, of course. With the team formerly being known as the Washington Redskins, just wasn't a name that should have been made in the first place. A lot of people never really liked the name. You shouldn't name a football team after a skin color. That's not, I don't even know how you root for a team like that. I just couldn't do it personally, but that is what it is. So good news out of there. Also, NBA started scrimmaging yesterday. I saw my Heat beat the Kings, moving like a well-oiled machine out there. Looking good. So good news coming out of the NBA. Good news coming out of Washington. Great things going on in the midst of a pandemic. So hopefully this NBA thing lasts. If y'all don't know how it's all going to work, the NBA seeding games start in about 7 days, July 30th, July 31st. The seeding games for the playoffs will take place next week. I will leave a link in the description explaining more in detail about how the NBA is restarting. If you guys are not familiar with that, don't want to take up too much time there. But so that is what it is. So let's go ahead and get into this NFC North predictions. Of course, last year, going into the offseason, I predicted that the NFC North, 1 would be the Bears, 2 would be the Packers, 3 would be the Vikings, 4 would be the Lions. Of course, that was coming off of the Bears' great defensive season where they just missed the field goal at the end. Now, the final standings for that division was Packers at 1, Vikings at 2, Bears at 3, and Lions at 4. So we're going to try to do a lot better because we didn't get anything right. And, well, actually we did. We got the Lions right. And speaking of the Lions, they are my cellar dwellers for the 2020 season. Detroit Lions are going to finish 4th again. They went 3-12-1 in 2019. Finished last in the division. 0-6 in divisional games. The Lions, going into some stats here, 2019 offensively, they were 10th in passing, and they were just kind of mid in the rest of the areas. Nothing stood out other than the passing, and Matthew Stafford got hurt, so that's even worse. So they had a few injuries on the offensive end. Moving over to the defensive end, they finished 31st in total offense. Total defense, last versus the pass. 26th in points allowed and 30th in sacks, as well as 24th in takeaways. This team tied for the 24th worst turnover differential in the league at -5. Personnel-wise, their losses really only lost Darius Slay, their cornerback, but that's a huge loss. He was locked down. He really was. Additions, Desmond Trufant can be seen as an addition in the cornerback role, adds a little depth, adds veteran leadership. Jamie Collins, outside linebacker, known for his days in New England, didn't really play that well in Cleveland, but, hopefully being reunited with the Lions head coach will be a good thing for him. Coming off of IR, TJ Hawkinson as well as Matthew Stafford, as I mentioned, and Marvin Jones. So those are three huge pieces offensively. It could have changed some of those offensive stats and even won them a few more games. But that is what it is as well. Draft-wise for the Detroit Lions, they drafted Jeff Okudah, the cornerback out of Ohio State. We talked about how great this guy was in college. Hopefully he can fill the void to some extent of Darius Slay, but Darius Slay, he's just one of those great players. So we'll see. DeAndre Swift, the running back out of Georgia, was also drafted by the Lions in the second round. Julian Okwara, hopefully I'm saying that name right, defensive end out of Notre Dame, was the third draft pick for the Lions. The bottom line for the Detroit Lions is that this roster is interesting. It's just not complete. It's an incomplete roster. I'm worried about the defense still, even though they added Jamie Collins, Desmond Trufant. They went out and drafted Jeff Okudah. I just don't think they have enough defensively. Especially when it comes to pass rush. You wait till the third round to draft a defensive end out of Notre Dame. Like, you got to do better with the pass rush there. There's got to be something more that you do in the offseason to improve. This team was 30th in sacks. Like, they need somebody that's going to get to the quarterback consistently. I don't think they made enough of an effort to do that. But that's why I think the Lions will finish in the bottom. They do have a new defensive coordinator in Corey Unlin, as well as a new special team coach in Braden Combs. So hopefully those guys can get in there and create a new culture, because this Lions team is looking like it's going to be another Detroit Lions season. So moving on to number 3 team in the division, and it's time to start surprising y'all. I think y'all already know. The Minnesota Vikings. 2019, the Vikings finished 10-6, second in the division. They went 2-4 in divisional games, and they were swept. They were swept by the Bears and the Packers. They beat the Lions, of course. The Lions didn't win any divisional games, but they're the Lions. You expect that. But anyway, going into some stats, I know y'all are surprised right now, like the Vikings? Yes, the Vikings. Listen. Going into some stats, the Vikings offense was right in the middle, 16th in total offense. They were 6th in rushing, 8th in points per game, 7th fewest sacks allowed in the league. So this offense at a time was rolling. You know, Stephon Diggs was complaining earlier in the season, as well as Adam Thielen, about not getting enough touches. They ended up scoring a bunch of points the next few games, because if your receiver is telling you get them the ball, and they're good receivers, you get them the ball. That happens. But defensively, they were 14th in total defense, which surprised me. I thought they were a little bit better than that total defensively. They were 5th in points allowed, though, and that's why it surprised me, because they don't allow a lot of points defensively. They were 5th in sacks. They also were great at getting to the quarterback, Hunter and those guys. They were 4th in takeaways. So this defense, I thought they would be a lot higher in total defense. I guess yards doesn't really matter too much, as long as you're not allowing a lot of points. They were 5th in turnover differential at plus 11. So this team took care of the ball quite well, and they took away the ball at an exceptional rate. Losses personnel-wise, and this is where it gets messy, because this is why I have them at 3. So losses personnel-wise, Stephon Diggs, starting receiver, we know what he can do with the ball. Xavier Rhodes, lockdown corner, he's out of there. Andrew Sendejo, starting strong safety, he's out of there. Linval Joseph, defensive tackle, he's out of there. To my Chargers, of course. Trey Waynes, your other corner, is out of there. Everson Griffin, your defensive anchor, he's the voice in the locker room defensively on the defensive line. He's out of there. So you've lost all of these pieces defensively. And you've also lost a star receiver in Stephon Diggs. That's not good at all. But additions-wise, how did they replace these pieces in the offseason, you ask? By adding nothing. Gary Kubiak, new offensive coordinator, and Adam Zimmer, as well as Andre Patterson are co-defensive coordinators. I've never heard that before, guys. I don't understand that. I don't. How do you have a co-defensive? I don't get it. But hey, it's not my team. It's not my front office. I'm not the one running it back there. So I guess I can't talk. Draft-wise for the Minnesota Vikings, they drafted Justin Jefferson, who was a stud out of LSU. They are hoping that he can replace Stephon Diggs. We'll see. We'll see. Putting that much pressure on a rookie. You know you have Adam Thielen on the other side, so that's good. But having those two outside last year was working magic for you at a point. And you can't just let them go like that. But anyway, they also drafted Jeff Gladney, the cornerback out of TCU, as well as Ezra Cleveland, offensive tackle out of Boise State. Bottom line for the Vikings is that they spent this offseason replacing. And they didn't even replace in free agency. They replaced in the draft. They spent the draft replacing. They aren't adding. You want to be adding to your team. You want to be trying to make your team better, not trying to put pieces back, put extra pieces in there where you lost pieces, like filling holes that you just got rid of. No, you want to be filling holes where your weaknesses are. I don't feel like they did that, and I feel like they lost too much defensively. This team is going to take a step back. We're going to see these guys take a step back in 2020. Moving on to my number 2 team, the Chicago Bears. 2019, they finished 8-8. They were 3rd in the division. They went 4-2 in divisional games. Like I said, they swept the Vikings and they also swept the Lions. Now there's your 4 games, meaning that they got swept by the Packers. So that's not a bad thing, knowing that the Packers are the number 1 team in the division. Okay, that's not bad. But anyway, offensively, they were 29th in total offense. The Bears were 25th in passing, 27th in rushing, 29th in points per game. Now, this offense, Mitch Trubisky was not the answer. So, knowing this for the past couple years, change has to be made, right? But we'll get into it. 2019 defensively for the Chicago Bears, they finished 8th in total defense, 9th versus the pass, 9th versus the run, 4th in points allowed, but they were 24th in sacks. So they struggled getting to the quarterback, which is surprising when you have Khalil Mack. That means you need to add some more to this defensive pass rush, right? They're tied for 15th in turnover differential at plus or minus 0, however you want to look at that. They didn't take it away more than they gave it away. Personnel-wise, the losses, they lost Prince Amukamara, the cornerback, as well as HaHa Clinton Dix, who played well at safety for them. So 2 notable losses there. Not superstars, but guys that can make plays. Additions, Nick Foles, coming over from the Jaguars. We know he got hurt early in the season. Didn't really get to play much for them. He did well. We know him as a Super Bowl champion from the Philadelphia Eagles. Won way more games than Carson Wentz, I might add. They also added Jimmy Graham, Robert Quinn in the coaching room. Bill Lazor, offensive coordinator, as well as coming off of IR. They have Roquan Smith, the inside linebacker, to add a little bit more depth on defense. Having Roquan Smith come back, you know, he had 5 sacks in 2018. Didn't get to finish his 2019 season. But, you know, that's just a great thing. It's just a great thing to have. Draft-wise, Chicago Bears drafted Jalen Johnson, the cornerback out of Utah. That was surprising. Your first move is drafting a cornerback. I know you lost Prince Amukamara, but you would think that the Bears would try to move up and grab a quarterback. I mean, Nick Foles, he's won a Super Bowl, sure, but I wouldn't bet on him to do it again. That was just one of those unbelievable years for the Eagles. The Chicago Bears also drafted Cole Kmet. Hopefully I'm saying that name correctly. Kmet. Tight end out of Notre Dame, as well as drafting Darnell Mooney, the wide receiver out of Tulane. Bottom line for the Chicago Bears is that they have a quarterback problem, as well as a kicking problem. We all know that. So I don't think they addressed the quarterback problem as well as they should have. I believe it's just time to draft another one. Or I don't know, man. I just don't know. The kicking problem has to be solved. I know it's very windy in Chicago. It's known as the Windy City, but I mean, come on. This hasn't been a problem recently until recently. So anyway, that's two things that I think need to be addressed. Defense should be good again, but I digress. Number one team in the NFC North, of course, that just leaves the Green Bay Packers. 2019, they finished 13-3, first in the division, and they won all of their divisional games, finishing 6-0 in the division. They lost in the NFC Championship game, of course, to the 49ers, who went on to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. You know how I feel about that, guys. You know how I feel about that. But anyway, 2019 offensively for the Packers, they were just a mid-team. That surprised me as well. They were second in the fewest giveaways in the league, with Aaron Rodgers leading the way, throwing under 10 interceptions. He knows how to take care of the ball. He's not going to come out and throw 20 interceptions. It's not going to happen. That's not what he does. He'll take a sack before he throws the interception, which I wanted Phillip Rivers to do. And he just refused to do that last year. And we end up losing all these games because he's trying to get the ball away when we don't have to. But anyway, I'm sorry. I'm still clearly upset about that. But anyway, 2019 defensively for the Packers, they finished 18th in total defense, 14th versus the pass, 23rd versus the run, 9th in points allowed. This defense was sound. Didn't give up a lot of big plays, didn't give up a lot of points. That's what you want from a defense. They were also 7th in takeaways. They got the ball back to Aaron Rodgers in a timely manner. This team finished 3rd in turnover differential at +12. That is an awesome thing. You know, the top 3 teams in turnover differential all made the playoffs. And that's what you got to do in the NFL. You got to take the ball away, and you can't give it away. You can't give it back. Personnel-wise, the losses for the Green Bay Packers. Brian Bulaga, of course, came over to my Chargers in free agency. Additions, not any really notable additions. It was a very quiet offseason for the Green Bay Packers. Draft-wise, they drafted Jordan Love, the quarterback out of Utah State. We all know that they drafted Aaron Rodgers around the same time that they have now drafted Jordan Love. Back when Brett Favre was getting up there in age. Now, Jordan Love will sit on the bench. Clearly, we know that he's not going to take over the starting job for Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers is not the problem here. Aaron Rodgers is still playing at a high level. Expect him to sit. Expect him to sit for a few years, just like Aaron Rodgers did. This front office knows what they're doing, guys. A.J. Dillon was also a draft pick, running back out of Boston College, as well as Josiah DeGuara, tight end out of Cincinnati. Hopefully I'm saying that name correctly. Bottom line for the Green Bay Packers, no big changes for this roster or this front office. They still have Aaron Rodgers, who will always give them a great chance to win a Super Bowl, as long as they get him some more pieces on that offensive line, because he should not be getting sacked as much as he did. We saw them struggle against the great defensive lines in the league. My Chargers defensive line, the 49ers defensive line, the Vikings defensive line. It just shouldn't happen, right? But that is the bottom line for the Packers. I do think they will be winning this division again. Don't really see anything that says, hey, this team might be in trouble next year. The Vikings losing all that they did. The Bears not improving the quarterback or the kicker position, in my opinion. And the Lions just being the Lions just makes the Packers win this division by default. They're going to win it again. They may not win 13 games again, but they're going to win this division again. This coach has his thing figured out. They're going to keep rolling. Thank y'all for watching, man. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. If you're new, thank you for your view. I appreciate you. Expect the AFC East predictions next week, as y'all have already asked for them on Facebook. It's your boy Jay. We out of here.